So my definition of consent is basically two people agreeing to the same activities.
There are many different kinds of consent. There's formal consent, there's informal consent, there's implied consent and assumed consent.
My definition of consent is just a verbal, sometimes physical, it depends, but a verbal yes in having sex with someone.
Well, consent in the legal definition means that somebody is 18 and by law is allowed to consent to certain things, whether it's behavior or something like voting. And so then consent outside of that is giving your permission to participate in whatever it is.
Well, this is something that I've definitely thought a lot about and talked to lots and lots of people about. And I think one of the most important things in terms of just viewing the Stanford case, in my mind, is that the woman was heard first, that her voice was the first one that was made public. And I think her words really spoke on behalf of all women who've experienced that, or women who've had friends that experienced that.
Or just in general, this is a very old issue with rape and violation and consent and things like that being taken very lightly, and trying to find blame without looking at the actual issue and without holding people accountable. And it's become this norm that, you know, it's a woman's fault, or, you know, there was some sort of other reason.
The Stanford case really illustrates how much work we have to do as a society to really influence the courts and our response to sexual assault. The Stanford case is a sad reflection of where we are today to defend our victims, and it illustrates that not only are people, mostly women, young girls, who are victims of sexual assault, not only are they victimized during the course of the assault, but that case illustrates that they're victimized again in the courtroom by not just the judicial person, but by the media as well.
The Stanford case makes me feel like I'm unsafe because if something like that happened to me, I wouldn't get justice for it.
I don't think at all how someone's dress should constitute as a consent, whether someone is wearing like shorts or like a really short skirt or a short dress or showing a lot of skin. That doesn't matter.
No, I mean, I think that there is an assumption sometimes, but I think that nonverbal communication isn't something that you play with around sexual interaction. There's way too much responsibility that's associated with that. And what someone wears does not mean that they want to or don't want to do something with someone else.
No, the way someone looks or even the way someone behaves does not give consent to other people to do things to that person.
After a few hours of this, they let me shower. I stood there examining my body beneath the stream of water and decided I don't want my body anymore. I was terrified of it. I didn't know what had been in it, if it had been contaminated, who had touched it. I wanted to take off my body like a jacket and leave it at the hospital with everything else.
Hundreds of thousands of rape kits that have never ever been tested, and they sit in warehouses and storehouses, and a lot of states are actually having those kits just thrown away, and so a lot of those cases will never ever see court because there's absolutely no investigation into those rape kits. And I was a person who was an advocate for women who had been through sexual assault, and it's pretty incredible the process of having a rape exam and going through that, and then only to have it not ever be processed.
1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men are sexually assaulted while in college.
And if someone is inebriated, then they don't have the full ability to like really be a consenting person. You still need that like conversation.
I think that's one of those things that it depends on the situation. If people are in a relationship and they are, I'm like, how do I say this? It depends on what the couple has agreed upon. If they're a couple and they go out and have a couple of drinks, that doesn't necessarily negate them from being intimate with each other.
And rape is rape.